the full moon in Aquarius. It's coming up on the 11th/12th of this month.
Yeah.
And the Aquarian energy is all about higher frequency, cosmic involvement. So it's this up-leveling of our consciousness, but then also our vibration on a multi-dimensional level. So our physicality, the non-physical aspects of ourselves, the Aquarian energy, and the full moon energy is about upgrading. It's very dreamlike in some ways. So we are connecting to higher aspects of our reality and ourselves.
I like that. Higher aspects of reality and of ourself. What that brings up for me is that there's a big shift. And if you're going into a completely a different age, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, look at all the songs they made up for that.
It is an up-leveling time, and with that comes the up-leveling of our consciousness, which has been in the works for some time, especially in the past 3 years. Energies, not just on Earth, but around Earth, with the rest of the universe, has been evolving. We're connected to things outside of this planet, and so a lot of these cosmic energies, they're moving unnoticed. And so for people, especially people watching, that are tapped in and aware cosmically, they have this deeper awareness from their higher self. More people are becoming aware of not just what's around them on a higher level, but that they have a higher level of themselves.
Yeah, and it's that integration of the two, because they kind of fight with each other a little bit, because they're not used to it. You know, there's the human, the straight up human that's going, that's crazy, that's silly, that's not me, I can't do that. And then there's this, hello there, welcome to the higher worlds. And they're going, what is that? But that's really cool. One of the things that I have been doing, I've been writing in a blog, just writing out all these different things that are coming to me. And I recommend to anybody else who's listening to this, you know, get yourself one of those little books that's your little book and it's just for you. And you just start writing in it. It's really good if you kind of have same time, same place, because you build an energy field there. And then you just start writing. And at first you might think, oh, that's crazy. But then it fits with this other thing that you say a few sentences off, you know. So there's a coming together of the different, what would be the right word for that? The different perceptions. I think perceptions would be the word, because if we don't believe in something, we probably won't perceive it. So that's where people are right now. They're not here and they're not there, but they don't know where here and there is. Does that, no, that's really confusing. I'm going to let you try and make that make sense.
Well, I like what you said about the writing, because it gives a place for the higher energies, that higher perception to land. So you're giving power to, or you're giving more recognition and awareness to an experience or to an insight or a message. And it's the same with like being kind of like neither here or there. I think a lot of us were finding that we're writing in maybe like this in-between state where, yes, we're present in our physical lives, you know, our day-to-day things, but then also we're more conscious of our spirit, of what our soul wants, our higher being wants, what's happening on an internal level. So it really kind of is just like that in-between state. And with that energy, we're finding more places to land, to ground in, to where we feel stable in the in-between and less caught up in the wind or caught up in the currents of it.
Yes, that's good. There's kind of like what I want, but it's a little scary. and it's a little scary, but I want it. So we have these juxtapositions of, are we this or are we that, or is there a way that we can put them both together? Now, I think that's the key. We are, the whole thing, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Really, there is a dawning here. So many different starships and things that have been seen, and it's not like it used to be.
Let's actually dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
There is an increase in the cosmic presence in and around Earth. And I say that not just in terms of ships, but also in awareness and connection consciously with people, with the Earth herself, and the star beings. We've talked a lot about the Arcturians, the Antarians, Pleiadians, Venusians in other videos, and I think there's also some more beings that are coming through now, because we are in such a unique time on the planet, that have never been to Earth, or maybe they have been, but it's been eons and eons of time, and they've returned because the energies on the planet are priming to a new level, like you've been talking about. Mm-hmm. So this up-leveling, it's drawing in a lot more cosmic support, and we can tap into that in our daily lives, which is so important because it happens from, again, our higher selves. So Sue, why don't you talk a little bit about tapping into these cosmic connections?
Well, the cosmic connection is something that we've always wanted, always. We instinctively know it, maybe from the time we're even babies. There's just something there, that there is a part of us that we feel, our higher channel, that we are connecting with more and more, is guiding us. And what we have to do is we have to remember to listen. And for me, I need to write it down somewhere too. And because we think, oh no, I won't forget that, that's so important. And then maybe a month later, this piece of paper comes up and you go, wow, what is that? Did I write that?
Yes, it's like you're writing time capsules to yourself from your higher self. And it's like the higher part of you knows, oh, this is going to come in handy at a really specific point later on. So I'm glad you wrote this down. I'm glad you kept this with you. Yeah. And I've been finding that a lot for me. The Pleiadians and the Arcturians have been coming up a lot energetically just in the last week in my meditations. Yeah. And it's so funny because I like to look back at journal entries I've written like a year from this date or 2 years from this date. And how funny is it that I was talking about the Arcturians and the Pleiadians 2 years ago and 1 year ago on this day, as they're coming up in meditations again. So it's so interesting how these energy fields can almost be cyclical, and yet there's an intention behind them that we might not always understand from our human selves.
Yes. And there's people seeing things in the sky and hearing stories and having dreams, and we're in this process of waking up. We activate more of our brain. Then as we activate more of our brain, suddenly things are a lot more complicated. You see the world differently, you see yourself differently, you start looking for things that before you thought were, that's silly. It's like, oh, it wasn't so silly. Let me check that out. That's what's fun for me. Have you been noticing that with people that they're opened up more than before?
Absolutely. And I think that's just going to keep expanding more and more as we continue on. And like you were saying, there's an enjoyment behind it. There should be a fun behind it. I think sometimes we can get, especially for me, I notice this for myself, I take it too seriously sometimes, or I get frustrated where I'm like, I feel like I should know more at this point, or I should be farther in this journey. And that's when my higher self has to step in and say, hey, what are you grateful that you've learned so far? What's something that you're grateful for in this moment that you've gotten to? And I think that's such an important point of this process, is that we have to have the enjoyment and the gratitude and the fun along the journey. It's like a story. Like, who wants to jump to the end of a book when you've just started the first chapter? It's like, no, I want to know how we got here. Like, take your time, enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I think that's really an important part of it. And there's not like, there's the way that you should do it or the way that you shouldn't do it. Because I think this is where our individuality really comes forward. Because it's through our individuality that we start activating parts of our brain that have been sleeping. Suddenly you'll think of that thing and it's like, wow, why did I think of that? Or you can go, I need to find out why I was thinking that. And it's good for us to find out why we're thinking it, because it's a message from ourself to ourself. There's also so much on television now, on shows and things like that. There's so much that people, they can just, sit back at the end of the day, have a little brewski and watch about, the client, what's happening in the other parts of the world and what's happening on the other planets, and have that be normal. That's the thing.
I think individually we can all find at least something on a higher level to take away from what we're taking in. And if we can't, then maybe that's a sign to switch up what we're taking in, or maybe put ourselves in a vibration or an energy that suits what we need on an internal level. Because it can get easy to get caught up in what's around us and think that that's all that there is. But it's not true. There's more out there.
There is more out there, a lot more out there. A lot of the truth comes in a good story. And so you think, oh yeah, that was a great story, but that's not true. Well, sometimes those great stories, they're true. That's why they turned it into a story, so that people could listen to it.
That's a wonderful point. And it's so fun, because if you don't know where to start, then that's when you go inside and you say, what's interesting to me right now? What's a mystery that I feel like has been knocking at my door a little bit? And can I set aside some time to explore that? It's sacred energy. It is sacred to have time with your soul, to allow yourself to go there and to enjoy the story that unfolds with it.
And our creativity is so important. And like, you make some really amazing pictures and things like that. I mean, I really enjoy, so you say it through it comes like through your heart, so it's not like a picture, but it's just something that just came out from you and onto you, and we'll get things that come into us now. And it's about a feeling of things that were impossible aren't impossible anymore. Now there's starships here and starships there, and this thing here and this thing there. So the world is changing really fast. So we need to ground ourselves so that we don't just kind of like fly off and then ignore it. Be here now. Don't let yourself fly it around, because then that's when we get lost. If parts of us get fluttering and fluttering all over the place, put your higher self, connection with your own higher self, first thing, very first thing. And it's not instead of, because your higher self is you. And the humans have said a higher self and lower self. Of course, they're together. The higher and the lower, they're both inside of our body, inside of our thoughts. And so they're all very intermingled. Every single person has a higher self. It's not that you have to be a certain this or a certain that. Everyone has a higher self. But if the higher self, it's kind of like if you have the best car you ever have, but you lost the keys and you can't turn the key, then it doesn't matter how great the car was because you can't turn it on. And so that's kind of where people are at now. They're having these feelings. Now it's like, how do I keep the me that keeps me going while I integrate this higher component of myself? On a regular basis, you go to a specific place and you settle into that place. And if it's outside, you take in nature. If it's at your job, you take in your job. Wherever you are, what you do is that, okay, this is it. Maybe I'm a little pissed off about this, or maybe I really don't want to do that. But okay, that's just what is. And I choose not to engage in that particular what is. I am in the process of remembering. Things are changing, and they're going to start changing faster and faster. But the changes aren't going to be bad changes. They're going to be changes into higher frequencies of reality. Now, some people are going to have a lot of trouble with it, but then there's some people that'll just like click right in and go right to the people that are having trouble and help them. They found this strength inside of themselves, and congratulations to myself for having this. And so because I have been able to connect to this, how can I help others in the manner that would help us all? Just asking that question. Just ask the question. Don't even try to answer it. Just ask the question and let the answer slip into you. Slip into you. And probably a lot of what happens is that, first you'll think, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm not that good enough to do that, or blah, blah, blah. But then, yeah, why can't I do that? I could do that. Or maybe I'm really angry about something and that's not right. And it's like, no, wait a second. Really? That doesn't feel good in my heart. I don't want to feel that way. I want peace. I want calm. I want love. I want beauty. And that's like a mantra: peace, calm, love, beauty. And we all have it inside of us. And sometimes it gets pushed out. And that's when we have to open up more so they can come back in. Because that's who we really are. We are the galactic beings. We, the human beings that live on planet Earth, are galactic beings. And boy, were they brave to come from their galactic self onto their third-dimensional human self. But that galactic self is still in them. That's not going to fall out. That's who we are.